today we're going to look at 7th grade lesson 4.2, finding unit rates from a table. This is going to be page 4 in your notebook. So the goal is I can find the unit rate of a situation from a table. And let's just jump right in. To find unit rate from a table, you want to divide the change in y values by the change in x values. Now this is written y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Now I would normally write the division as a fraction bar, so I would have this part over this, but whenever I typed it up, the fraction bar went through the 2 and the 1 and it just made it look kind of funky. Now what this means is we're going to look at the y values, which are generally the values on the right or the values on the bottom. These are also our dependent variables. So we're going to look at the dependent variable and take one dependent variable minus another. And then we're going to take the independent variables, or the x values, that match those or correspond with those, and subtract those two. And then we divide. That's going to give us our unit rate. So here's example number 1, and it's no longer covered up. Well, poop. We'll just redo this, and I'll edit this part out. That'll work. Okay, so let's look at example number 1. Now here we have days and money, and we're given 3 days, $75. 4 days they earned 100, 5 125, and 6 150. Now what I do is I just pick any two numbers. In this case, for the first example, I picked 175, the first two, and I took the bigger minus the smaller. That way I wouldn't be dealing with negatives. So 100 minus 75, and I put that over 4 minus 3, the x value that corresponds with those two y values. So 104 matched up, and you see they're over each other. 75 and 3 matched up, and they're kind of over each other. Okay, so whenever I subtract that, I get 25 over 1. So 25 divided by 1 gives me $25 per day. Now I'm going to check it again. So I want to show you this can be used for any two numbers. So in this case, I took 150 minus 100. So they don't have to be consecutive. And then I put that over 6 minus 4. So you can see I just took any two numbers just as long as I used the pair, and I kept them in the same order. Now that gives me 50 over 2. When I divide 50 divided by 2, I get $25 per day. And if I wanted to write this as an equation, y is equal to 25x. And that equation is going to work the same way every time. Now I can put this way because if I were to scale this down, so working backwards, if it's changing, this means $25 per day. For every day, it's adding $25. So if I went backwards, for 2 days it would be 50, 1 day would be 25. So the 1 and the 25 would match up to my unit rate. That tells me it's a proportional relationship. I can also go one further, 0 and 0. So that tells me I can use this equation. And that's what we're going to be looking at just to start with. So let's look at the second example. So I have my time in hours and my distance in miles. So I take just any two numbers. So 348 minus 232 over 6 minus 4. That's going to give me 116 over 2, which simplifies to 58 miles per hour. Now I try it again with another two numbers. 580 over 232 minus 232 over 10 minus 4. Doesn't matter which two numbers you pick. Now I get 348 over 6, which again simplifies to 58 miles per hour. And if I scale this down, if I take 58 times 4, I get 232. If I take 58 times 1, I'm going to get my unit rate of 58. 58 times 10 is 580. This is a proportional relationship, so my equation is y is equal to 58x. Let's look at the last one. In this case, you can see the numbers are all jumbled. So I have chocolate bars and calories. So I start with any two that I want. 2020 over 808. That corresponds with 10 minus 4. So 2020 minus 808 gives me 1,212. I divide that by 6, and I get 202 calories per chocolate bar. And I can already tell right now that this is going to be a proportional relationship just because I can look at this and compare it here. I can see the same situation, my y and my x. So let's look at another one. Now in this case, I took a smaller number minus a larger number. So 808 minus 212 over 4 minus 6. Now I wouldn't normally do this, but I do want to show you that it does work if you should get in that situation. So I have negative 404 divided by negative 2. That still gives me a positive 202 calories per chocolate bar. And if I check this, 202 times any of these x values will give me my y values. And so that tells me for my equation, I can do y is equal to 202x. So we'll continue working with this tomorrow. Bring any questions you have.